Get strong.
Hi there, YouTube. Some 5 months ago, I put out a video that was the Microsoft Surface Go 3 running Kali Linux Part 4. Now, this is a video that goes out to Cyberlock7996, so huge shout out to you. But moreover, he's my 403rd subscriber. So thank you very much, Cyberlock7996. And thank you for the topic that you've raised, which is by a question of, so how is this holding up? Are you happy with the Surface Kali? Well, Cyberlock7996, pretty much the answer is yes and a no. And fairly shortly, what we're going to do is move over onto the workbench, and we're going to find out exactly why I am happy with it, but why there's also quite a bit of a problem that needs to be explored a little bit further, and what I might or might not be able to do about that. So what we'll do is I'm just going to pause because I need coffee and I need a cigarette, otherwise I can't function. And then what we'll do is move over onto the workbench. I've got it all set up. It's just out of view there. And then we'll go and take a look. Okay, so we're on the workbench now with coffee in hand and with cigarettes as well. Right, okay, so Cyberlock 7996. Am I happy with this? Am I happy with this Surface Go 3 running Kali? Well, let's fire it up. And I do apologise for the screen reflection. I don't think there's much I'm going to be able to do about that, so I will have to ask you to bear with me. So we're loading this up. Let's just give this a moment. Right, okay. And it appears to have done, so we can log in. And let's just give that a moment. Right, okay, so we're into Kali Linux then on our Surface Go 3. And, well, we've got something of a problem. The Wi-Fi did briefly work on this, but now, since I've done an update and reinstalled, the Wi-Fi now no longer works on it, which is quite annoying. So if we go over to the cogwheels there, where my mouse cursor is, no Wi-Fi adapter found. But what was incredible is when you go through the setup procedure to actually install Kali Linux on this tablet, what you'll find is that the machine will ask you for your access point name, and it took it. But now, for some unknown reason, it's now saying that there's no Wi-Fi adapter that's found. And there was actually a further problem with the USB, but we'll look at that more in depth probably later. Let's see what happens though. Since I've done a restart, does the internet actually work on this? That's what we'll need to find out now. So what we'll do is we'll just try and go to Google or even to YouTube. And it looks like it's working. How strange is that? But yet, let's just scroll down here and say accept all. And what you'll find is, yes, the internet is working. So let's go to google.com. So it loads up Google, but as we said, up in the top right hand side, if we go back to there, it's really strange because it says that there's no Wi-Fi adapter that's found. So the only real way now that I can actually disconnect and reconnect from the internet is to put this thing into aeroplane mode, which is kind of a little bit annoying. But let's come out of this altogether, because I'm going to show you again something that's even more weird, where it says there's no Wi-Fi adapter that's found. If we exit that and we open up a command terminal, and let's zoom in a little bit there, and we're going to type in IW config and then hit enter. And that's weird, because it actually says that wireless LAN 0 is accessible on this device. So this looks like it's possibly a driver error then. To further hammer that idea home, let's open up terminal one more time. And we're going to load up something called DMESG. And we're going to have a look here now and see if we can actually find an error of sorts. And what do you know? There it is in red, if you'll be able to see that. I'll just read it to you, just in case you can't. And it's at 4.941952. That's where it appears to be starting. It says firmware failed to load IWL-debug-yoyo.bin with a -2. Then underneath that it just says see https://wiki.debian.org/firmware for more information about the missing firmware. And then underneath that it just proceeds to say failed to load IWL-debug-yoyo.bin. So it might very well be a driver or a firmware issue. Now, interestingly enough, there was a similar error that was thrown up. If we scroll, where was it? It might have actually cleared itself now since I did this update and reinstall. But it was to do with the USB. So the USB-C controller on it wasn't working. As I take a sip of coffee. But let's see now what happens if we do indeed plug a USB-C connection into this, certainly for a mouse. If I can reach over. And here we have our mouse, and it appears to be working. So that's strange. Now, in addition to this Wi-Fi issue, I have here a wireless network adapter. This was outside for several months, hence why it's covered in electrical tape. But what I can do is plug this into that USB hub, like so. And then what we can do is if we go up to here, now it's registering the Wi-Fi on it, which is quite incredible. So if we hit the arrow button, and there we are. So if we connect to that, let's see if it will connect. Let's see if it does. It looks like it's connecting. There we are, so we've got a tick on it. Now, theoretically, what I might be able to do is Wireshark this. So let's just go down to Wireshark here and see if this is actually working. Well, that's wireless LAN 0. Well, isn't that strange? So it's actually appearing to work on both adapters, even though, so let's just disconnect the USB on here again. And Wireshark is running. That's incredible. So if we just quit without saving on that, let's try it again. Wireless LAN 0. So yeah, that's strange. That's a rather strange problem indeed, because no Wi-Fi adapter found, because I've unplugged it, but yet we have on here Wireshark running on wireless LAN 0, and it obviously runs with the adapter plugged in. So that's actually a strange problem, and it's looking like it's firmware. So not quite a deal breaker, but it's certainly not stable enough for me to be using this in the field at the moment on any sort of pen test run. Let's just come out of that because we don't need this on. But yeah, I mean, in general, I am happy with this. There are certain usage that I will have for this machine. And the other tool that I was looking for to run was PuTTY. But that isn't actually very essential at the moment. Let's just hit PuTTY and try and open that. And yeah, as we see, PuTTY doesn't run on it. And now what happens is, oh no, it looks like it might run actually. Let's try and go into serial in our PuTTY configuration and hit enter, and it looks like PuTTY might work. But again, with this and Telnet, there might be a firmware issue. So what I'm going to have to do is resolve this somehow. That might mean reaching out towards one of the developers of Offensive Security and seeing if this could be supported. But that is, yes, it's strange for the fact that, well, no Wi-Fi adapter found. Yet, having said that, Wireshark detects our wireless LAN. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But as we see, it appears to be doing something. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. So it's not quite that stable enough for me at the moment. Now, as far as drivers go for it, I have had a look and couldn't find any. I'm just sort of wondering though whether or not where was it? It was under dmessage, and it was there, the firmware, that IWL debugyoyo.bin. I haven't actually tried installing that yet. I might well have to try that today. It doesn't matter whether it bricks the operating system or not, because I can just simply reinstall it. There's nothing on there at the moment that I particularly need. It is a rather annoying problem nonetheless though, because if I want to disable that Wi-Fi, as I said, I have to do that in aeroplane mode. But Cyberlock 7996, to you again, I am happy with the Surface tablet because I can also run a tool called FatRat. Let's see if we can load that up. It's the FatRat. Let's try that. Oh, right, must be root. So, okay, sudo FatRat. Let's try that. And it's just root backwards for this. So, yes, I can run FatRat. When my internet connection's working correctly. So it says now that I'm not connected to any network. Let's double check that. It might require a restart. But FatRat was running. Yeah, so it's disconnected from the internet again. Let's try a reboot. Let's try and do a restart on that. And see what happens. While we're on this subject though, this machine does still have its usage to a point. I mean, to play around with Linux anyway, is something that I like doing. It's certainly useful for that. So if I want to carry this machine about and practice with it, because it's simple, portable and lightweight, I can do that quite easily. And the battery life on this is pretty impressive anyway. So let's just try and load this back up again. And have we got our internet connection back? Let's see. Yes, we have. So isn't that strange? That sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Now let's try running the FatRat tool again. So sudo FatRat. And there we are. So now we have our internet connection again, which is strange because, again, in the top right hand side, it still says no Wi-Fi adapter found. So that is a firmware issue. But again, with this, we still can use some of the tools that we want. So to answer your question, Cyberlock 7996, it's quite simple. Yes, I'm happy with the form factor of the machine. I am happy with that. It's lightweight, it's portable. It gives me something at least to play around and work with. But on the field, not quite sure about this, because as we said, that whole Wi-Fi adapter thing is finicky. And what with the USB as well, and with PuTTY not running correctly, and Wireshark as well, that might be a deal breaker. But there might well be a fix for this. It's something that I'm going to have to look into more in depth in time. But most of the features, at least on here, would appear to be working. So let's zoom in again so you can see that. Most of the features would work, apart from obviously the wireless attacks, obviously. So yeah, I am happy with this. to a point. So hopefully that sort of clears things up a little bit. Let's just plug that C connector back in again, because I find it easier with a mouse. And believe you me, this isn't easy. Anyway, trying to operate a machine with a camera in between your legs. For anyone who thinks it is, you're welcome to try. But yeah, on the whole, for something to play around with and something to work with, I'm happy with it. And as we see Metasploit, that appears to be sort of running as well. So yeah, I am happy with this. It will have its usage. I mean, what I can do, for an example, here I have a USB thumb drive. It does standard USB and it also does USB-C. I featured this before. So what I could theoretically do is create my custom payloads on the Surface tab and then install those payloads onto here, and then plug that into a machine and do things that way. So yeah, it's certainly still useful. This certainly will still have its usages in the field to a point, but I don't think it's nearly going to be enough for it to be my go-to machine, if that helps. So I think what we'll do now then is, for now, we'll leave it there. I've pretty much covered what I can in terms of this, but at least it gives you some sort of idea and a starting point that, yeah, it will work, but it's finicky and it's going to require a lot of playing around. And again, for anyone else out there who is a hardened programmer, let's just exit this. We have to use the number menu for that. Exit that. Exit that again. And then reopen terminal. We'll look for that D message. Yeah, USB there, couldn't find an input interrupt endpoint. That might be something I need to look at. And as we said here, there's USB issues, so firmware failed to load. That was that wireless adapter I had plugged in. So I'll need to look at that as well. See if we can zoom in for you. So that's going to need my attention. There's an initialization failure here, which looks like USB-C 000:00. That might be needing to be looked at. And moreover, it's that firmware issue for the internal Wi-Fi adapter. So if I can resolve all of this, then yeah, I would say it would be a perfect machine for me because of its long battery life. But at the moment, it just seems a little bit too unstable for me at the moment to be relying on it. But again, for something to play around with when I'm out and about and on my travels, I would say it's ideal. So we'll leave it there for now. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and thanks very much Cyberlock7996 to your subscription on my channel, and I look forward to hearing from you and others in the near future. So I'm going to disappear now and enjoy the rest of my coffee, have another cigarette, and I'm going to try and get to resolving this issue. Not sure how long that's likely to take me, but hey ho. So in the meantime, stay good people. I wish you all the very best in your ethical hacking and whatever you do. And stay subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one.